My name is Stacy Pauling. My name is Stacy Pauling, just in case anybody doesn't know me. And I'm going to be presenting the 25-26 Advisor Fall presentation. And that 25-26 validation fall collection is due October 15th. And then that means that we just want the data in there. And then there's an audit window from the 15th to the 31st. So the information is actually going to be locked on the midnight of October 31st. So the audit window is kind of a time for you to evaluate and make sure that that information is accurate. It's also a time that the NDE departments will start going in there and kind of looking at the data. And if they see some issues, they will reach out to school districts and ask you to, if the information is accurate or if it needs to be fixed or things like that. The information that they're looking for is the student demographics, school enrollment, special education, early childhood, food program, and an English learner program. And this data is used for a wide reasons. Um, Basically, it is finances. A lot of it is tied to finances. When you go through that list, it's a lot of it finances, assessments also another important thing that uses a lot of this information. The other big piece is Nebraska Education Profile. So that information after October 31st is going to get published to the education profile. So it will need to be accurate. So you want to make sure that information you are reporting is accurate. And then we have a link there for the 25-26 advisor calendar if you'd like to look at that and get the specific details of every collection. So what are the next steps? Well, we advise you to look at the validation errors for the school year for the 25-26. And we let's see, this worked earlier. Is it going to work now? There it goes. Okay, so we have the website for the errors. That's what I'm trying to say. And you can see the domains if you want to look through the domains. My favorite way is if I'm working with 510, I just do a search and then I click on 510 and it gives me the error description, details, and a fix. We have majority of the errors articles published. We don't have them all published. So if you do a search and it doesn't populate, we don't have that one. Hopefully in the next year or so, we'll get this all completed and we'll have all the errors published. But this is a great resource to utilize. The other go-tos that I use is the enrollment lookup by ID, which is going to give us a historical view of the enrollment for the student. So even if the student like didn't attend your school a specific year, you're still going to be able to see the whole historical enrollment as long as they attended a public school district. And then my other go-to that I would like to point out is the student lookup by ID. So maybe you have an error and you're like, I see this in the SIS. I don't know why this is an error. Well, the student lookup by ID will show you what your specific school is reporting for that student. So if it says that you have a SPED error and it's missing a program record, you can go in there and be like, okay, I see it in SRS. Why is it not? Why do I have this error? Well, you can look in the student lookup by ID and you can see if the SPED program record has been sent to advisor. So that will help you do a lot of problem solving and trying to figure out if your SIS has given the information to advisor. So those are my two go-tos. There's other options that you can use, but those are the two that I wanted to point out today. Some things that we start with is, as Kim was saying in the follow-up, is the prior year errors. They are looking at the lock data, and it's important to get those resolved as soon as you can. Some of that is going to be able to be resolved by making new enrollment records in the new school year. Some of that might need a late request, but there is so limited things that the follow-up is accepting right now. So if you have a question and you're like, ugh, I don't know how to resolve this, just send us a ticket or find us today, and we'll be more than glad to help you and try to figure out how to make that resolution. And there are some new errors for 25-26. And I have pulled up the bulletins because it was published when this was created. It was coming soon, but we do have it published and sent out. So in the bulletin, there's two parts. There's a part 1 and a part 2. And we have these new errors. They're in the 800s. We have not had time to write the articles for these, so they are not on the help site yet. But I just wanted to point out that we have a disciplinary um, error, and then we have another enrollment error, and then we have two warnings. So one is a SPED warning, and then the warning that I wanted to kind of just bring to your attention was warning 820. It's a student that's reported in an advisor but doesn't have a matching record in advisor person ID. So we recommend everybody to upload all their students every school year around the beginning of the school year to have a 25-26 enrollment record in advisor person ID. Whether they're new or not, they should have a new record. And we have created an error, or not an error, it's a warning that says, you have them in an advisor, but we don't see a matching record. And the reason we're doing this is because we're utilizing the advisor person ID for a lot more resources. And one of them that is very important is the direct certification. And so this helps us with all the back end stuff that we are doing. So to have that record. So like I said, if you have a very mobile student population, you might want to upload for all your students more often. But we do recommend at least one time a year at the beginning of the school year. So that is the part 1 and part 2 bulletin. And then the second part is two errors that relate to a new statute, and we're going to go through that statute later here in the presentation. So that after you have your errors resolved and you're comfortable with where they're at, then the next thing to do is to look at your verification reports. And we have created spreadsheets that you can utilize. It's also in advisor validation. If you go to the verification reports, there's a column on the side that says, you know, this is best to look at this in the fall or the year or all year round. So you could also utilize that section. And it's just good to be able to share these reports because you're not the only one that is a keeper of this data. So for me, I would share it with my SPED director. I'd print off reports that I would want her to look over, or option status is a big thing right now. So I would share that with the district office and say, are these the right students that we were supposed to be reporting? So please share it. It should be a team that's working on this, not just one specific person. And I'm just going to quickly review the reporting windows. I know Kim has already, but I'm going to just quickly do it. So as of today, if you click that on that, it's going to show me exactly what the report for the students are for your school district as of 9/23, specifically for that specific day. As of October 1st, it's going to show you that snapshot time, and it's going to be what is going to be locked on midnight of October 31st. And then the full year, it's just, if you want to see everything, even no matter when the student was there or when they exited, you know, the full year is going to give you that full picture of everything. So then the final step is just approving the collection, and that is around October 31st, and that's what the superintendent usually does. And basically, they're just saying, okay, everything that is on these verification reports, we approve and agree that this is accurate. And then there's a bunch of assurance statements too that they have to agree to. And if you need, your superintendent needs some guidance on how to do this, there's instructions on that link. Okay, so I said earlier that we had a new state statute. It's LB 306. And so I'm going to walk you through this little path. So if you click here, it's going to take you to this advisor website with reference guides, and it's going to tell you there's a 30 LB 306 enrollment. And if you click on this link, it's going to give you the specific details of this enrollment. So basically, or not enrollment, of the statute. So basically, in a nutshell, I go to this paragraph right here. I don't know if you can see my arrow traced around that. But it's basically talking about exempt and your part-time students and your non-public, where they before needed to be contracted in if they were, or an option in if they were attending a non-resident district for an extracurricular activity. And now with the state statute, basically it's saying is that if those students want to come to an extracurricular activity and the resident district is not offering it, they can go to the closest district without any additional paperwork. Or it's saying the resident district does offer the activity, but the student lives closer to another resident district, so they can go to that closest school offering that activity. So there's more specific information throughout this guide that you can review. Maybe you need to share this information with your administrators because this is a new state statute. And that is what the, ooh, let me find the right bulletin. That is what these two errors are referring to, is just stating that use the residence code 10. Nope, can't be used for this type of student, whatever. So it's just tied back to that state statute. And that statute applies to grades kindergarten through 12. So then we have some new behavior, or one new behavior code, and it's harassment or bullying, and it's tied to gender identity. And Max has a very detailed, specific when you would use it and how that is applied. So I would share that information. It can be found in Advisor Data Elements along with this presentation. And then another big change that we have already received a few tickets on is the languages. So we had to update the languages to match federal, and so that removes some of them. And one of them that has been removed is the other languages. And so if you don't see what language you're looking for, we just recommend that you just find the best match list because the other language is no longer an option. Some other things that have been removed is learning modality, the civil rights, staff contacts, student staff cohort, and then we have a SPED placement change. So we removed the 14 private school or exempt, and we had to break that down to be more specific. So we removed the one code and we added 4 to replace that code. I recommend that you share this information and data elements with your SPED team so that they are aware that this code has been removed and that there is more specific information. I'm sure SRS already has this all updated and is prepared for this. Some other things that have been added is the crisis event. And so we've added a student status, and start date and end date, and then a homeless indicator. And dual credit. We now have added the dual credit indicator and then a dual credit type. Now, a lot of these changes, most of the vendors have already implemented and you probably don't even realize it. But we just wanted to bring it to your attention that these things have changed. And the data elements does reflect it. It will say like updated. So when you go through that, you'll see a mark that says updated. Just a few reminders that we like to share. Missing programs records is always a big thing. I talked about it earlier with the student lookup. So if you have an error and you don't know why, you see it in your SIS, it maybe didn't make it into advisor. So use that student lookup to figure that out. Missing students from prior year. So maybe they just need an enrollment record to be exited out so that they're not showing. Grad cohort, mismatch, enrollment and SPED mismatch. So that's SPED is very specific. It needs to match up with a specific enrollment. compatibility withdrawal types. So sometimes those things are an issue. And then again, for that October 1st membership count option status, make sure you have your option status um, confirmed and accurate because finances is going to be reviewing that. So let's just jump through these resources real quick. We have the service desk. You can always contact us. We are running a few days behind on tickets, but we will get to you, we promise. And we're working through them as fast as we can. We have the Workday website, the bulletin. I'm going to go back to the help site with those blogs with the specific errors. I think those are very helpful. Honestly, I use them on a regular basis. So to help me remember. Then we have the advisor webpage. Just wanted to call out my go-tos. My go-tos is the advisor data elements. I have that almost pulled up every day, all day. My other one that I recommend is the student-specific situations because we have a lot of students that are in unique situations. So that's the who reports what and the systems involved students. So you could always go there. And then if you still have questions about that specific student, give us an email and we'll be more than glad to help you. And then we have the staff reporting. Kim talked about it, but I just want to say that we're in the audit window right now for the staff reporting, which basically means try to have everything as accurate as you possibly can by October 31st, because on October 31st, they're going to start pulling that data and putting it into other, making it public on the education directory site. They're going to start pulling it for like GMS and things like that. So I would recommend that you have that information updated as accurate as possible. And don't forget your NSSRS validation errors to review those too. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention about the CDC is that the CDC is having less and less reports in it. We're having our developers rewrite a lot of those reports, and they're getting moved out of the CDC and put into independent applications. And some of those independent applications are either in the legacy or they're in the new portal. So I really recommend that you have the calendar bookmarked for CDC so that you can determine if it's actually in the CDC or if it got moved out into an independent application along with the due dates are in there. And then if you need to figure out which it's in the legacy or if it's in the new portal, I recommend on the splash page that has the links for the legacy or the new portal, we have that document that says, which do I use? That document is going to tell you whether which which portal the collection or application is in. And then we have the advisor person ID resources. Again, it needs to be updated at least one time every school year for all your students.